This recipe for making sauerkraut in a jar actually came from my grandmother, and the woman was just amazing. Her parents owned a German delicatessen, so if anyone knew how to do sauerkraut, it was her. I start out with 6 pounds worth of cabbage. For me, that's going to be a little one and a bigger one. These are ones that came out of the garden today. And I'll cut them in half, then I'll remove the thick core. I've already removed any bad leaves off of the outside of it before I even weighed it. I like doing sauerkraut in a crock sometimes too, but there's just something that's so convenient about being able to do it straight into a jar. You don't have to have the extra equipment of having the crock, even though I have one. Plus you have to jar it up later anyways, so it just kind of skips that step. Generally speaking, I would just elevate my cutter by placing it kind of diagonal and maybe against my leg. But because I want you to be able to see it, I'll put it on my weight here. I've actually done this on a mandolin or just with a knife, but these bigger ones are a little better designed for doing the cabbages. Once I get down to the last little bit, I just do that by hand. I don't want to risk my knuckles. It's not worth it to me that much. So then I take my little cabbage ends that are left and I cut them down to about 1/4 of an inch strips. I want it to be really fine so that it matches the rest of what I've done. Now I'll add 1/4 of a cup of non-iodized salt. That's really important because the iodized salt will actually make it so that it doesn't ferment properly. As I mix in the salt, I want to bruise the cabbage. My goal is to get some of the liquids to start to come out, and I'll continue to stir it like this for 15 minutes. You can see just how much moisture is in this cabbage now. When you first put it in here, you never would have thought that that would happen. Then I'll fill my quart-sized jars up to 1 inch of headspace, and I try to fill it as much as I can on my own, and then I add the tamper. The key is that I want all of that moisture up over the top of my cabbage. This usually does anywhere from 2 to 3 jars worth. It kind of depends. And then I just tamp it down tight again. And then I'll take my lids and rings and just put it on very loosely because I want some of that liquid to be able to escape. And then I'll place them in a tray or a deep-sided cookie sheet. Because of that liquid that's going to escape, it needs somewhere to go. My grandmother used to actually put them in the bathtub that they didn't use as much, and she would let multiple of them go at the same time. But this works pretty well for me. I just got this little plastic tote here that I use. It's important that I have a good place to put these because they will sit in here for about 2 weeks. What I want to do is watch for them to start to become transparent. So it's been 2 weeks and my sauerkraut is all done. I can tell because it's somewhat translucent. Now it's not entirely unexpected to get a little bit of scum or mold on the surface. If you do, then you just take that off and just a little bit underneath it. At this point, I'll remove all of my lids and I want to bring the headspace back up to the 1/2 inch mark. If I had to add very much liquid, then I would add salt as well. But since this is only a small amount of hot liquid that I'm adding, not a big deal. At this point, my sauerkraut will stay good for a very long time. It has some great probiotics to it. It's really good for your gut health. So if I wanted to use it for those reasons, then I would store it in my refrigerator and it will actually stay good for up to like 6 months, so for quite a while. But if I don't have enough room in the refrigerator, but I still want to keep my sauerkraut for later use, that's when I would go ahead and can it. So let me show you how to do that step. At this point, I'll use a wooden chopstick to debubble my jars. And this is just to make sure that if there happens to be any little air bubbles that are trapped in there, that it will release them. Then I double check my headspace. A few of them need just a little bit more. Headspace is space from the top of the food to the top of the jar. I'll use a clean, damp cloth to wipe off the rim of my jars so that if anything got on the edge, it won't interfere with the seal. Now the one downside with canning this is that the heat from the canner will kill off any bacteria, both bad and good. It will still be a lovely sauerkraut to eat, but it won't have those probiotic qualities to it. Then I'll place my lids and rings on until they're fingertip tight. I'm using Superb canning lids today. These are kind of fun because they have this super squishy blue seal to them, which is good for up to 36 months as opposed to the 18 months that say like the ball lids are good for. And it also has 5 coatings of anti-corrosive material on it, which is great because I store my jars in my root cellar, and so it keeps them from rusting. I have both a link and a 20% off coupon code in the description below. Now I'll process these in my boiling water bath for 15 minutes if I'm at sea level. I'm at 1,200 feet, so I'll process it for 20, but I won't set my timer until after it starts to boil. When I place it in, I want to make sure that the water goes at least 1 to 2 inches above the jars. Now that the timer's gone off, I'll turn off the heat, remove the lid, and let it cool for 5 minutes. I place the jars on a heat-resistant surface about 1 to 2 inches apart so that they can cool quickly. I'll leave them on the counter for 24 hours so that they can get a good seal. I can tell that they have a good seal if the center of the lid is depressed down. If it is, then I remove the ring and wash it in hot soapy water and place it in a cool, dry, dark location like my pantry and use them in the next 1 to 3 years. If for some reason any of them didn't seal, I would place them in the refrigerator and use them right away.